Okay, and welcome back. This is my review, reaction, impression, something podcast series for Danganronpa 3. As usual, this will be spoilerific of everything, including the games that came before this. This is sort of podcast style where I talk about stuff after taking notes while watching the episode. I'm still playing with this a little bit, so if there's anything that you'd have an issue with or want to see improved, feel free to let me know. This isn't my typical type of video, so it's more experimentation with me on a lot of fronts. Either way, let's get started. Future Side episode 4. And oh god, this episode. Okay, let's start at the beginning. I actually like the recap. It was a bit long, Monokuma Theater-esque, and actually useful since it's been a while since I watched the first 2 episodes of each. So that was actually sort of nice because I didn't remember some of those details. And when the old man started using his abilities, he seemed even more suspicious. Why was there an issue with actually touching him? I mean, he seemed like he was strong, he had that cool weapon, but like throwing the chair at him and the guy just like not willing to actually punch him. Was he punching him with the arm with the wristband on? Because that would make him even more suspicious. A little later on, when student council president guy talked about his reasoning for keeping him hostage, he made a very good point. A really, really good point, even. Of course, it makes his blind rage from before just a little bit ridiculous, but those claiming to believe in Makoto sound a lot less sincere now. Especially the old man just showing up like that and taking the lead on everything. Definitely is very, very suspicious. I also don't think that the killer, throughout this, I noted that I didn't think the killers were any of those 3 that were chasing each other around outside of the whole situation with Makoto. Too much bad blood between them. They couldn't keep a low profile. It seems like you'd want to keep a low profile in this case, especially if you go with how the student council president's point of trying to use Makoto, or in some way use the student council president, because he has the same thing going, doesn't he? He has the same whole possibility of having people follow him. And I went to the end of this episode writing something sort of interesting down about how I thought that there was a few very suspicious people in the president's right-hand man, the wheelchair girl, and to some extent the old man, though maybe less so because he's dying, because all of them seem to be like latching on to a figurehead of Makoto or the president guy. And you could see that is doing the same thing as the president was describing, and that made them very suspicious. But as I was writing that, the ending came. Oh my goodness, is that fucking Monica? Is that fucking Kamaru, you fucked up. You fucked up, Kamaru. Why? She looks different. She looks a bit different. I don't know anyone else I could possibly be, unless that's a completely new character. But either way, oh my goodness. That is a whole new wrench in this, and she just wanted to be the next Junko, right? So obviously, if she's doing this, that's probably her motivation. I will note before moving on, it does make me think, didn't that girl in the wheelchair have some sort of part playing developing the Neo World program? Obviously, Monica was not in a position to do any. I mean, actually, the wheelchair thing makes a little bit of sense now that I think about it. Oh my goodness, with her. That's just sort of cuff of the moment. But Monica would not have had a chance to actually work with that unless she's been pretending to be that girl this entire time, well before another episode. That would be really weird. That would be really, really weird. She did not seem like she intentionally had any sort of intent to go through with the Danganronpa 2 plan, because if she was intentionally making the Neo World program, possibly from her resources at Toa Corporation, then why would you go through the events of another episode in the first place? Why would... I don't know. It's weird. Spare Side episode 4. Well, this one started off with a tense air. I also really like the episode title, the Haruhi reference, so very meta. But, yeah, we see those 3 from the future arc running around. I guess they're in the class above Danganronpa 2's, and that means 2 years ahead Danganronpa 1's cast. So, interesting that they all end up being involved in the Future Foundation in the end. Very interesting indeed. What this episode was really about was how Nagito is a hurricane. Something you should never, ever allow near yourself, your children, your anything you might care about. This is what I wrote down throughout the episode. Oh god, Nagito, why are you always like this? Nagito is darkness, Nagito is despair, Nagito is the destroyer of happiness. I wrote that down during the episode when I was taking notes. Oh god, Nagito, god damn it. I will note also the practical exam thing. It's an interesting concept, and it makes me wonder if Makoto, they had a whole year, right? How the hell did Makoto get past any of those? What the hell was his talent that he could actually get past the practical exam? Man, I could imagine the lottery draw students getting pulled from that, getting kicked out of the school because of those all the time. I also thought I found it very funny when Sensei showed up and she was just like, she saw the entire gym just fucking gone, and she basically says, "This is a serious matter." It's like, oh, you fucking think? She's way too forgiving too. They're all too fucking forgiving. Oh my fucking goodness, Nagito is he's such a horrible person. Oh my goodness. He's a great character. He was an amazing antagonist in Danganronpa 2. But oh my goodness, it's really hard to not hate him to some extent. Oh my goodness. Oh my fucking goodness, Nagito. Why every fucking time you show up on anything, this happens. Every time. I don't have anything more to say. Just goddamn it, Nagito. You know, starting this episode, I noted, unless the old man actually died from his injuries, it really just dawned on me that no one had died lately. With that in mind, this episode was about, shoot, I'm still not getting their names all that well. Might be in my notes somewhere. But, it was about the relationship between some of the upperclassmen of the Danganronpa 2 class, so the class that was ahead of them, and how they got expelled. The previous episode. And honestly, after all that build-up, I shouldn't be surprised by how this ended, but I honestly didn't see it coming. They did a good job pacing it and actually making me think, not actually that come to mind, like, oh, what if they die? Especially at the beginning of the episode when I was thinking, well, not many people have died lately, so I was sort of caught off guard, even though I realized that. Some other quick notes just going into this. I know Monica was revealed at the end of the last one, but I'm still sort of inclined to believe that she's working with other people. It seems unlikely that she's the only one in on whatever her plan is. I'm really not sure what her plan is, but I would say the old man is still suspicious, and the boxer is suspicious. At least that's what I noted at the beginning of the episode. I also note that I like how the forbidden actions tend to be very thematic, like stepping in a shadow. If that isn't a metaphor for her issues shown in the flashback, I don't know what is, because that's pretty on point. And after all the interactions between Sweets Girl and Pharmacy Girl, I think, I think her name, I wrote down Seiko here. I think that's her name. Again, I'm horrible with names. But I'm sort of thinking Sweets Girl, after looking through all their relationship, that she's also seems quite suspicious. I mean, she was someone who was expelled, and she probably would be a great person to try to recruit to Monika's cause, or whoever's cause, and based on what we heard, President and Sensei didn't actually recruit her, they recruited a Pharmacy Girl, so, well, at least not at first. Overall, their stories, it's quite sad, and I think they did a good job focusing a whole episode on it. Even up to the point where one of them said just like, where did everything go wrong? I think both of them said that. But my thought when that was said, I couldn't help but think how it's still motherfucking Nagito's fault. It's still his fault. Oh my goodness. You also have those discussions between the president guy and the old man does reveal he does know something, and he's dead. It feels like it was more just to make him waver, because he can't tell a lie, so... And really, those are the only things I can think of. I mean, I guess in terms of, like, since he isn't anywhere near suspicious once he made that point, unlike he was at the beginning of the episode, other than the fact that he really just said he's not part of the Remnants, not that he wasn't involved in it, because you don't have to be part of the Remnants of this band. I mean, Monika's in charge. She technically wasn't part of all of that at all in the first place, so... But he can't tell a lie, so... Clearly he's not the actual killer himself. He might still be involved in it, but you also might have... I mean, I'm thinking that the killer would have to be either the wheelchair girl or his right-hand man, because those would be the two ones that would really shake up President like that. Or hell, maybe it's someone who's dead or they think is dead. It'd have to be someone who is just distinctly surprising, because specifically the president, someone he'd never expect. So those three options, either Sensei, who's maybe not really dead, maybe, I don't know, his right-hand man, who he clearly trusts a lot, or a wheelchair girl that Monika's controlling, which might just be a surprise because she's in a wheelchair, so yeah. I also don't think that the president's the one who killed Seiko, if I wrote down her name correctly. I don't think he was, but he did get that medicine somehow. So either he just stumbled upon her and was like, fuck, I'll just take it. Or, I don't know, maybe he was the one who killed her and she just passed out and didn't wake up at the right time, so he just had a chance to do that so he could grab it from her. I don't know why he'd kill her for it, but it'd be a bit weird. Otherwise, I don't really have any more extended theories beyond just saying who might be suspicious, who might be working with them at this point, so that's all I have for this episode. See you next time. Drive safely. Hello and welcome back. It's actually been a while since I watched anything in this. Actually, I haven't watched since before the first part of this came out, so I'm going to be a bit more up to date on what's happening. And as a result of that first part, I'm going to go over what happened in this episode just a bit more. This is the one that dealt with the animator and imposter guy switching places, their story. It's also when Sensei goes back to the job and it switches over to the next year so that the Danganronpa 1 cast shows up. And it also marks the end for good old Hajime. Now, it started straight off with the animator guy, and at that point, it's like, he had not been shown in the Despair arc again, so it was a bit weird. I did like the Ghibli movie reference. The art style definitely made me think that it was Ghibli, and the dog made me think it's Princess Mononoke? I haven't seen the movie, but I probably should, but that's the one I can remember that's from Ghibli that has that sort of stuff. Then it went into Sensei's Reserve Course session, which was very weird, as they went back to like the film concept from the very beginning, and she totally sounded like she's in complete and utter despair, which makes her sound even really, really suspicious, especially after the last Future arc episode, where I basically said something along the lines of, maybe she's really alive and she's doing the killing, because that would shock President. Then it goes into a lot of background exposition about stuff, and then it starts to reintroduce the first game's cast with first the student profiles. They do have to be there for everything to go down. Junko needs to be there. You also had the whole scene where Sensei reunited with the class with Danganronpa 2 and stuff. And as usual, Chiaki proves to be MC along with Sensei. Chiaki's probably a very tragic MC, but I'd say MC nonetheless. She's the leader of that group, and she's going to be the leader of that group. You also had Hyoko's growth spurt, which is hilarious, as I actually forgot about it up till that point. And then you also have Gundam and Sonia's relationship, which just makes me smile because they were so cute in the game too. Everyone really seems to trust each other so much, including when they went to the whole animator stuff and explain why they're basically doing it on purpose, and that was a good twist. I didn't expect that twist. It did make me think, like, is the animator the same age as Danganronpa 2? Was he supposed to be in their class, but the imposter just took over? But yeah, between that and the stuff with Mikan, it really shows how much they trust each other, which almost makes me think that if, like, Chiaki or someone, or like maybe a few of them fall in despair, the rest of them would follow suit just because they trust each other so much that they go along with it. So maybe Chiaki falls in despair first. You also have Junko's and sort of Makoto's and Muguru's big entrance into the story. Oh my goodness, she just keeps blowing stuff up, and that's exactly how she'd do it too. That's exactly how she'd enter the show. This show captures the over-the-top parts of all the personalities so well. Junko's weirdness particularly well captured. Also, just noting, Muguro, best first game girl. Man, I just want to, like, hug her and cure her despair. Yeah, God, there's no awkward way of saying it, just forget about that. And ultimately, it ends with Hajime. Well, time for despair. Junko's here, Makoto's here, Zero's here. Oh, so much for happiness. Okay, Future Sight episode 6. You know, I keep forgetting that something has to be happening on the outside with Yasuhiro the Fool. You have his fortune telling, predicting a happy ending, and you know what? I'm gonna bet on that. I'm gonna believe in Yasuhiro. This is totally going to have a happy ending. No sarcasm. I don't even care if they play it off as a joke. I'm gonna make a bet on it now. He has a tendency of saying stupid fortunes and them ending up being right in some way or another. I don't know how, but fuck it. It is time to believe in Yasuhiro. Yasuhiro 2016 for president. Wait, no. Oh, well, this was the episode. It seemed like basically a large setup for the upcoming ones, where you have a lot of different groups basically heading in their direction towards how they're going to play out and try to tackle this game from here on out. A lot of dynamic changes. At the beginning, I'm going to say that I'm going to stick with the idea that Sensei is actually the killer. And I will note that President's flashback and the need to stab her, presumably make sure that she's actually dead, seems to stick to that theory pretty well. After that, you jump to Makoto waking up with Kyoko dead, and when I saw that, I thought, oh yeah, this is probably a dream. And then President showed up with both his eyes and his sword, and I thought, oh yeah, this is 100% a dream, and then he woke up. After he woke up, it did make me wonder why they weren't questioning why Monica Bot managed all the way over there, and why she was just there even though she was like sacrificing herself in the hall before. Just everything about Monica and Monica Bot just makes me makes me want to sort of punch her. I know she's a little girl, but still, gosh, she really needs to get found out. Seeing her smiling and she lied through her teeth hurts a little to watch. Did she even write that message by the old man too, just to like mess with him? Though the Warrior of Hope was a nice little touch when they, Hina called her that. I wonder if she heard about another episode's events in detail enough to actually know about that. Though Monica's willingness to go along with their get out plan says a bit to how feasible it really is though. Either she knows how to misdirect them well enough, or she knows it's impossible. With Byakuya in the picture, and a decent chance Monica would be able to predict that they'd find Gecko Ahara's actual body and be able to get the idea that she'd be the only one who could do that. I'm pretty sure she probably would have predicted that, unless she's really stupid. I don't think she was that stupid in another episode. You think she'd prepare for that, and maybe it is misdirect, because that's definitely something wrong with the idea of thinking that's impossible. There's also the chance, I don't know, maybe they're somewhere else. Maybe she like went out of her way to have them asleep for a long time. Oh, it couldn't have been that long though. They are in a situation where Byakuya thought he was still having the hearing, so it couldn't have been like days and days. Overall, where the confidence in her willingness to go along with it so helpfully does bring to question what she plans. Maybe she's trying to capture Byakuya and them in the trap too. Overall though, Byakuya, he definitely is one of the smartest ones. Though I will note, wasn't Monica taken out in another episode though? How could she have retained the ability to follow through with this quote-unquote game? I thought Toko and Kamaro stayed behind to keep the city in line too. I do recall that little bit of art where she was like dressed up sort of like she is in this one, sort of more like Junko. Maybe that was hinting at this. You also had Kyoko's group, and I will note Hat Sensei. I don't remember his name still, but he's the scout Hat Sensei guy. He's really calm about all of it and making those jokes. Kyoko even seems like she's holding back and is suspicious of him. You could easily play off what he's doing as a coping mechanism, but it could easily be something more suspicious too. I haven't really thought about him too much up until this point, so yeah, he's another one to put on the list of potentially working with Monica. As for the deaths themselves, I actually really expected Seiko, the pharmacy girl, if I'm still getting her name right, to count as the only death. I mean, that guy, what did he even do? He was the blacksmith, right? Right. He totally found the hidden area, and that's why he died, right? That's the only thing I can think of. It's a bit of a shame. I'm thinking that this cast, very few of them will die throughout the rest of them. I think they've basically set up who they want to keep living throughout the rest of this. Now, more of them are definitely going to die, but who? When? I'd say, I don't know, maybe the animator, maybe the Sweets girl. I'm thinking after they quote-unquote killed Hina, the chances of her or Kyoko or Makoto or Byakuya or the Danganronpa 2 cast really dying is probably pretty low. It doesn't seem like they have the balls to go through with that, at least until the very end, maybe. Speaking of the Danganronpa 2 cast, oh shit! Boring? What was the quote? Boring? End quote? Oh my goodness, Hajime. That's fucking awesome, and it's a fucking awesome cliffhanger. You know, after the last Despair episode, I thought, I want to continue the Despair side more. Now, finishing this one, I want to say, I want to continue the future side. Damn it, both of these are getting so good. That is a great way to end it, and I'm really curious where they're going to go with that. The Spare Side Return, Episode 6, the one where Junko convinces Zero to come to her side and Sensei figures out about the Comic Hero project. That's most of what happens, so there isn't a whole lot to say about it. It's mainly those two short storylines. I'd also like to dub this episode Farewell Hajime. Oh, I haven't seen the dub version of this, but it does remind me that I really would like if they managed to get Johnny Young Bosch back to voice him, because he is so good in Hajime role. I think he would do amazingly well as a Zero too. So as for the actual beginning, Farewell Hajime, like I said. Oh, it's so sad. The machine closes and opens, and apparently they designed a hair growth machine. Who knew? Longer hair means more talent, right? That's where your talent is stored, just in your hair. Never cut your hair, boys and girls. After that, you go into the opening, which I like how they changed the color scheme. Everyone's eye seems like red and or pink now, which is a pretty good twist on where it's going. You have Hajime disappearing in a Zero's hair. Oh boy. They really do a good job of varying the openings for that dramatic effect as things change. It also does make me wonder how Chiaki and Hajime, because Chiaki's still waiting for him. It's been half a year now. Is a Zero going to come up to Chiaki at some point and actually make contact? How are they going to infiltrate that class? Realistically, wouldn't Junko want to actually infiltrate her own class and turn them to despair because she's so much more connected to them? Mind you, it is nice to see that the humor of Danganronpa's 2 class isn't written out yet. I totally expected it to once Zero and Junko were introduced, though I really feel the complete overwhelming despair and nothing but despair coming. But it's not quite there yet, and I am grateful that they haven't written it out yet. It really does contrast with Junko. Her torture. I think I instinctively want to just close my eyes in that scene. And every time she does something so horrible, she just does it so casually. It just makes me want to hit her, sort of like Monica. It's I hate her. I don't want to hit girls. I don't hit anyone. But it does make it really fun to see her being owned by a Zero. Not to mention her speech on why she's bored and how she's trying to convince a Zero really does get across exactly why she does what she does a bit better than the games did. So that is appreciated, and it does pose a pretty good argument for why a Zero would go help her. I also have Sensei's story, which starts out with her getting the key from the president's right-hand man, I think the boxer, and he seems to have pretty strong feelings for her, and that makes him sort of suspicious because I don't think he reacted nearly as strongly as his current reaction would imply when she died in episode 1 and beginning of episode 2 of Future Arc. She figures out all about that and everyone knows about it. No, I don't think they know that Hajime's involved, which is unfortunate. Sort of like Future Arc episode 6, this actually sort of feels more like setting up for exactly how things are going to go in the future. Clearly Azuro and Junko are going to be working together. Chiaki's still waiting for Hajime, and Sensei and Presidents are still trying to figure out the whole situation and fix it. It does leave a few interesting questions, like how the hell does the animator fit into her plans? I'm actually really lost on that idea. How the hell would she even do that? Actually, now that I say this, maybe it gives her the inspiration for using Mukuro to dress up as her during the first game's events. My other question, what is Azuro's motivations behind all of it? Does he really fall into despair? Or does he just help despair come about because it's less boring that way? Time will tell, I guess. See you all next time. Drive safely.